Why we provide different internet solutions for your different needs. SLT Fiber, 4G and ADSL. SLT Broadband, just the way you want it.
Maiden journey. The Intercity Express train Uttaradevi makes its first venture to Jaffna from Colombo. Tactical move. Leader of the Ceylon Workers' Congress reveals how the recent plantation workers' wage hike is a win-win.
Generally, majority of the workers are happy with that because they also understand 1,000 was what we were asking for. It was our target.
Looking for defections. UNP and the UPFA deny talks of a national government.
So we need good people from any side. So we are open for discussion.
Global policeman. The United States urges world leaders to pick a side on Venezuela. That and much more coming up on this Sunday, the 27th of January 2019.
Smart Android තාක්ෂණයෙන් එන සිංග විස්ටා TV එකක් මිලදී ගන්නා ඔබට හිත පිරෙන්න වාසි රැසක් ඕනෑම සිංග ප්‍රදර්ශනාගාරයකින්.
From Ada Derana, this is Ada Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammika Kanayaka. Now let's start with your local stories. Uttaradevi, the Intercity Express train, which will now run between Colombo and Jaffna, embarked on its maiden journey to Jaffna today from Colombo Fort. The inauguration ceremony was held under the auspices of President Maithripala Sirisena in line with national program to promote a drug-free nation, Matin Nidahas Ratak. The public will get the opportunity to use the services of the new express from the 30th of this month, which will run daily from Colombo Fort railway station to Jaffna.
Uttaradevi commenced operations from Colombo Fort railway station after it was ceremoniously vested with the public by President Maithripala Sirisena at 6 this morning. The ceremony to mark the maiden journey of the newly imported S13 locomotive power set imported from India was also attended by Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka Taranjit Singh Sandhu and Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation Arjuna Ranatunga. The President, including several VIPs, made the journey from Fort railway station to Maradana railway station. The train set consists of 7 compartments, 2 of which are air-conditioned and can carry 724 passengers.
අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ මහජනතාවට තත්වයෙන් උසස් දුම්රිය සේවයක් ලබා දීම. ඒකේ ප්‍රථම අධීර හැටියට අලුතෙන් ලබාගත් දුම්රිය කට්ටල යාපනයේ දක්වා ගමන් මාර්ගයට අද ආරම්භ කරනවා. ඒ වගේම අපි ඉදිරියේදී මාර්තු මාසෙ වෙනකොට අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා තවත් කට්ටල කීපයක් ලංකාවට එන්න.
ජාතික මත්ද්‍රව්‍ය මර්දන ව්‍යාපාරය විශේෂයෙන්ම පසුගිය 21 වෙනිදා සිට 28 වෙනිදා දක්වා සතියක් මත්ද්‍රව්‍ය මර්දනය නිවාරණය සහ පාලනය පිළිබඳව සතියක් අපි රජයේ ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කළා. ඒ වගේම පහුගිය අවුරුදු 4ක කාලයේ විශේෂයෙන් මත්ද්‍රව්‍ය මර්දනය සම්බන්ධයෙන් සහ නිවාරණය සහ පාලනය පිළිබඳව පුළුල් ජාතික වැඩසටහන් රාශියක් අපි අරගෙන ගියා. ඒකට සෑම කෙනෙකුගේම සහයෝගය ලැබුණා. මතින් නිදහස් රටක් විදිහට අපේ උතුම් මාතෘ භූමිය හෙට දවස වෙනුවෙන් ගොඩනැගීමේ උතුම් කාර්යයට අපි නියැලී සිටින්නේ. මේ සඳහා සහයෝගය දෙන සියලු දෙනාටම අපි ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම අපි හෙට දවසේ පළවෙනි වතාවට ලංකාවේ මත්ද්‍රව්‍ය මර්දනය සඳහා ගෙනියන පොලිසිය සහ ආරක්ෂක අංශවල ප්‍රධාන ඒ නිලධාරීන්ට වැටලීම් කළ ඒ අයට ජනාධිපති ප්‍රශංසා සම්මාන දීම හෙට දවසේ කෙරෙනවා. මීට පෙර කවදාවත් එවැනි දෙයක් කෙරිලා නැහැ.
On its way to the Kankasanture station, the train reached the sub-railway station at Arivial Nagar in Kilinochchi, declaring the newly built sub-railway station open. The train later reached its final destination of Jaffna at 1 this afternoon. Commencing from the 30th of this month, Uttaradevi will travel daily from Fort railway station at 11:50 am and will make a return journey to Colombo from Kankasanture station at 5:30 in the evening.
Now, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe today emphasised that despite disruptions from opposition politicians, the current government, for the first time, was able to make all political parties successfully agree on the concept of a unitary state. The Premier was speaking at an event held in Kaluthara today.
දැන් ඔක්කොම බය වෙලා තියෙනවා. දැන් මොකද්ද කියන්නේ? අපි රට බෙදනවලු.
Everybody's scared now and started to claim that we're going to divide the country. How can we possibly divide the country when all these political issues in the south? How can we possibly divide the country with all these political issues in the south? But the thing is, no one wants to divide the nation at all. They also make allegations about the new constitution, but it is really not up to me because the 2/3 of the parliament must agree to it. But we had very successful discussions regarding the proposed constitution, and that is what they see as a problem. For the first time, all political parties agreed to a unitary state. We can always introduce a new constitution later, but the important thing is that we got the agreement of all parties for a unitary state. Parliamentarians representing other political parties are confirming this to TV Derana and Hiru TV News. Isn't this good? They have claimed to accept that there needs to be territorial integrity, which we want as well. It is only by the parliament and through a referendum, and the constitution will be able to give powers to the municipal and provincial councils. I asked this from families of war heroes, and they said that this is really a good thing. The war is over, and now there is an agreement for a unitary state as well. How can we possibly reject the concept of a unitary state before the families of 40,000 war heroes who sacrificed themselves for a unitary state? Both Sinhalese and Tamil communities agree to it. Despite politicians disrupting this process, the current government managed to get the consensus of all political parties to a unitary state.
මේ වෙන එක බාධා කරන්න. ඒත් අපි ආණ්ඩුවේ අමාරු වැඩත් කරා.
Moving on with other stories, the talk of a new national government was, in fact, led by the UNP, came into light following several media reports over the weekend. General Secretary of the United National Party, Minister Akilavaraj Karyavasam, however, clarified that it is not a national government that the party is seeking to establish. He, however, hinted that UNP hopes to strengthen the current government with the support of another political party, but did not reveal which party it was.
Several Sinhalese weekend newspapers reported that the UNP has commenced discussions on establishing a national government by providing ministerial positions to its members in an attempt to ensure a 113 majority in the parliament before the budget 2019 is presented to the House. UNP member and non-cabinet minister Ajit P. Perera also implied recently of such an attempt by his political party.
ජනාධිපතිවරණය දක්වා ස්ථාවර රාජ්‍ය පාලනයක් ගෙන යාම සඳහා ජාතික ආණ්ඩුවක් පිළිබඳ විශ්වාස තබනවා. මේ ජාතික ආණ්ඩුව එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයේ නායකත්වයෙන් යුතු ජාතික ආණ්ඩුවක්. මේ ජාතික ආණ්ඩුවට අපි ජනාධිපතිවරණයේ අපේ අපේක්ෂකයාට උදව් කරන ඒ කණ්ඩායම කල් තියලම එකතු කරගන්න අපි බලන්න.
However, following a public gathering, General Secretary of the UPFA parliamentarian Mahinda Amaraveera had contradictory views on the matter.
එහෙම සාකච්ඡාවක් දැනට ඇති වෙලා නැහැ. ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂය තුල මොන යෝජනාවක් පක්ෂයක් විදිහට සාකච්ඡා කරලා තමයි තීන්දුව ගන්නෙ.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයේ නියෝජන සමහර මන්ත්‍රීවරුන් ඇමතිකම් ලබා ගැනීම සඳහා සමහර විට ඉදිරි කාලේ චන්ද්‍රිකා බණ්ඩාරනායක මැතිණියත් සමගම එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයට ගිහලා ඇමතිකම් ගත්තා කිව්වත් අපි පුදුම වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
In the first day, actually, we worked hard to establish the good governance norms by establishing the 9 commissions and then Information Act and so on. And then after that, then we started the development, the infrastructure, the rest of it. So there's a couple of years for us to achieve our goals. The exports are on the rise, about 30% increase on garment exports. So we need good people from any side. So we are open for discussion. Let's see what they want to do, as long as, because they also have a political agenda. So it's not easy for them also to take decisions. Once they take such decisions, there are ramifications for them as well. It's a delicate situation. Talks are going on. It has been going on for a while. So anyhow, we need a stable government for another 1 year until the presidential election.
Meanwhile, General Secretary of the UNP expressed his views regarding the alleged attempt to establish a national government.
වශයෙන්ම අපි පිහිටවන්නේ ජාතික ආණ්ඩුවක්ම කියන්න බෑ. අපිට දැන් පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ 113කට වැඩිය අපිට බහුතරය පෙන්වන්න පුළුවන්කම තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයේ മന്ത്രിවරුත් අපේ ආණ්ඩුවට සහයෝගය දෙන්න තීරණය කරලා තියෙනවා. ඉතින් අපිත් එක්ක වෙනත් පක්ෂවල മന്ത്രിවරුත් අපිට එකතු වෙන්න එකගතාවය පළ කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා මේ മന്ത്രി ධූර අමාත්‍ය ධූර බවට පත් කරන්න, විශේෂයෙන්ම කැබිනට් අමාත්‍ය ධූර ප්‍රමාණය යම් තාක් දුරට වැඩි කරගන්න අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ තවත් පක්ෂයක් සමග සම්බන්ධ වෙලා ඒ ජාතික ආණ්ඩුව වගේ තමයි. ඉතින් ඒක අපිට අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ ජාතික ආණ්ඩුවට වඩා අර ආණ්ඩුව ශක්තිමත් කරගෙන ඉස්සරහට යන්නේ.
Now, despite the Plantation Owners Association and the trade unions reaching a common ground to raise the daily wage of plantation workers to 700 rupees, not all are happy with the agreement. Several protests organised by plantation workers were worked off to show their displeasure over the 700 or hike to 700 rupees. However, while expressing satisfaction over the increment, leader of the Ceylon Workers' Congress, Arumugam Thondaman, says that although they requested a 1,000 rupee wage increment, it was not their intended target.
We have got a 40% wage increase. Base 500 has come up to 700. Apart from that, we have got a PSS of from 30. It has been raised to 50 rupees. Generally, majority of the workers are happy with that because they also understand 1,000 was what we were asking for. It was our target. But when it comes to a collective agreement negotiation, there's a give and take policy. The industry also has to survive. But I think there are a very handful of people who are not happy with this wage. As far as we are concerned, as a collective agreement signatory, we are happy with this. I think this is a win-win situation for both. Anybody willing to get more, I'm willing to support them.
Following discussions with the Plantation Owners Association and trade unions on Friday, State Minister of Plantation Vadivel Suresh said that the highest wage increment ever given to state workers was by the current government.
In the history of plantations, this is the first time that a daily wage has been increased by 40%. 500 has been increased to 700, with 50 rupees as price share supplement makes it 750. They also receive EPF and ETF amounting to 105 rupees, which increases the sum to 855. There will also be 40 rupees per additional kilogram. According to my calculations, they can pluck 10 extra kilograms during the season, from which 400 rupees can be collected. It all amounts to a total of 1,255 rupees. We have given the best we could. We haven't signed the agreement yet, and it will be signed on Monday. If there is any faction which can get us a better deal, we will put off inking the agreement.
A satyagraha meanwhile was launched by an estate worker at Malliappu Junction in Hatton, demanding that the agreement to increase the basic daily wage to 700 rupees be halted. In the meantime, a group of plantation workers engaged in a protest blocking the Hatton-Balangoda main road from the Bhagavantalava area, stating that 700 rupees is insufficient. The protest, which lasted for 5 hours, disrupted vehicular movement in the area. But with the wage increase in the spotlight, how do estate workers obtain their daily wage and on what basis? First at 9 spoke to an estate worker to get a better understanding on how they receive their daily wage.
Both men and women report to work at 7:30 in the morning. The minimum we have to pluck is 18 kilograms. During peak season, both men and women pluck more than that, but during other times, men just pluck 18 kilograms and go home by 1 p.m. Women, on the other hand, have to be at work until 4:30 p.m. Otherwise, their names are not recorded for a full day's payment. Although men go home around 1 p.m., they get a full day's pay. Men usually apply fertilizer and do pruning. We are allocated a certain task and we complete that task before coming home at 1 p.m. There is no rule which says we have to be working until 4:30 or have to work for 8 hours per day. If the given task is complete, we come home. Now let's take a look at some other stories making news across Sri Lanka.
3 members of the Awa gang who had been on the run after assaulting 2 individuals with swords have been arrested in Jaffna today. The arrest was carried out following a tip-off received by the Jaffna Divisional Crimes Unit. Police officials have also found 2 swords used in the incident. A woman from Dimbulapatana Police Division has committed suicide after strangling her 7-month-old son with a wire. Preliminary investigations have revealed that a family conflict has led to the incident. Further investigations are conducted by the officials of the Dimbulapatana police station. During a raid conducted by Mana police following a tip-off, 2 individuals were arrested with 2 kgs of Kerala cannabis yesterday. Suspects will be produced before the Mana Magistrates Court and further investigations into the incident are being conducted.
We've got more news coming up on the other side of this break. Stay tuned.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel. This is Other Derana 24.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now let's continue with more news. Issuing a media communique today, the Ministry of Finance and Mass Media announced that the Enterprise Sri Lanka concessionary loan scheme is to introduce further concessionary loans to migrant workers and three-wheeler drivers. Accordingly, migrant workers will be given up to 10 million rupees concessionary housing loans to be repaid in 15 years with 2-year grace period. The Ministry of Finance further noted that migrant workers who have registered under the Foreign Employment Bureau will receive the benefit by saving their remittance in local bank, and the 75% of the interest rate will be borne by the government through the Treasury. Another novel scheme introduced to provide concessionary loans up to 2 million rupees to three-wheeler owners, to convert to safer and comfortable mini taxi services with small cars. The government will bear 75% of the interest rate, and the three-wheeler owners who operate their own three-wheelers and who are above 35 years of age are entitled to this concessionary loan. A proposal made by the Minister of Finance, Mangala Samaravira, to expand the already approved loan scheme to cover more areas was approved by the Cabinet of Ministers last week. Facebook's chief executive, Mark Zuckerberg, is planning to unify the underlying messaging infrastructure of WhatsApp, Instagram and Facebook Messenger services and incorporate end-to-end encryption into these apps. New York Times reports that the three services will, however, continue as standalone apps, citing 4 people involved in the effort. Facebook said it is working on adding end-to-end encryption, which protects messages from being viewed by anyone except the participants in conversation, to more of its messaging products and considering ways to make it easier for users to connect across the networks. After the changes, a Facebook user, for instance, will be able to send an encrypted message to someone who has only a WhatsApp account. Market analysts expect the positive sentiment in the stock market to continue over the course of the week with improved foreign investment. During the week, ASPI lost 0.16%, while the S&P SL20 decreased by 0.65%. We now have Dimantha Matthew from First Capital Holdings with the market forecast.
The sentiment in the bond market, of course, reversed with the yields moving slightly upwards with the announcement of the CBSL is expected to have sizable bonds in the quarter. We expect the upward trend to continue with the low level of foreign reserves also. On the contrary, positive sentiment in the stock market continued during the last 3 to 4 days, and we expect that to continue and the selling pressure to slowly get absorbed in the market. We are starting to see some foreign buying also entering the market, and also considering the low valuations and the potential in the market, we expect this foreign interest to further improve.
It's time to look at news from around the world. The United States calls on the world to pick a side on Venezuela and urge countries to financially disconnect from Nicolas Maduro's government. European powers signaled that they were set to follow Washington in recognizing Venezuelan opposition leader Juan Guaido as the country's rightful leader. In heated back-and-forth exchanges at the United Nations Security Council meeting, the opposing camp, led by Venezuela and Russia, accused Washington of attempting a coup and lambasted Europeans' demands that elections be called within 8 days.
Venezuelan opposition leader Juan Guaido, who took the helm of the National Assembly on 5th of January, proclaimed himself interim president on Wednesday. The US, Canada and a string of Latin American countries recognized the young leader in quick succession, with Britain, Germany, France and Spain ready to join the group. However, Nicolas Maduro, who had led the oil-rich nation since 2013 and has the support of the armed forces, has refused to stand down. Speaking at an UN Security Council meeting, US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said Maduro's socialist experiment had caused the economy to collapse and highlighted the need for a new leader.
We hope that every nation will join us in recognizing interim President Juan Guaido. And we hope, too, that each of those nations will ensure that they disconnect their financial systems from the Maduro regime and allow the assets that belong to the Venezuelan people to go to the rightful governors of that state.
Russia, however, called for the United States and Europe to cease interfering in Venezuela.
This is not a way to resolve the crisis in Venezuela. We strongly object any external interference. What we need to do is to facilitate political sides in Venezuela to resolve the crisis peacefully and to get country back to normal.
By overcoming opposition to holding the UN Security Council meeting yesterday, the United States successfully put the global spotlight on Venezuela as a Security Council problem. Diplomats, however, says that any council action to address the crisis would be blocked by veto powers Russia and China.
Now, at least 34 people have been killed and about 300 others remain missing after the devastating dam collapse in an iron ore mine in southeastern Brazil. Rescue teams have been scouring the site for survivors near the town of Brumadinho since Friday. Officials say that the exact reason for the failure of the dam is still not clear.
The dam, owned by Brazil's largest mining company, Vale, ruptured on Friday, releasing a torrent of mining waste that slammed into its facilities and cut through a nearby community, leaving a roughly 150-meter wide wake of destruction stretching for miles. It caused a sea of muddy sludge to bury the site's cafeteria, where workers were eating lunch, and at least one bus that carried employees. Emergency services continue to search for survivors using helicopters and earth-moving machinery. Some 366 people have been rescued and 23 of them have been taken to hospital. Vale said it could not reach 252 of its employees and contractors. Residents and guests at a local inn were also reported missing.
We got a prominent figure who used to be involved and continues to be involved in multiple sports coming into the studio on the other side of this break. So stay tuned.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel. This is Other Derana 24.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, we have a prominent figure who used to be involved in rugby and is now expanding his horizons into other sports as well. It's none other than ex-CEO of Sri Lanka Rugby Union, Priyantha Ekanayake. First of all, welcome.
Thank you.
Now, I want to get cracking straight away. Now, I want to address an issue which does not necessarily get much prominence, which is usage of proteins at school level, especially pertaining to rugby players. Now, we know tennis, obviously in tennis that is the case as well, but in rugby it's more prominent. Kids that age love to bulk themselves up to play the game. But unfortunately, it is not regulated. What's the case there?
Well, you put me on the spot on that. I'll try to answer this to the best of my ability. This is not my specialty. This is an ongoing problem because, I mean, as a sportsman, you need protein, right? The word that you use is supplement, right? So do you need supplement? That's the question that we need to ask. In most cases, I think what's happening with the kids, they are having lots of pressure from the coaches and from the schools to perform. So that's one of the reasons they give these kind of supplements to the players. So if you look at the supplements itself, right? What do you get out of that? I mean, mainly it's amino acids, right? So when you look at amino acids, what is it made of? It's carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen. So when you have to discharge nitrogen, how do you discharge? Then it affects your kidneys, right? So excessive protein affects your kidneys. So that's the simple theory. So what I understand is, if you're taking, that's what I believe, if you're taking a proper diet, I mean, you don't need nutrition when you're an amateur player. Of course, when you get into the professional setup, you need, all these proteins and even creatine, that's a boost. That's again another kind of a protein. So what is happening is these kind of substances or supplements we introduce to children, thinking that they can enhance their performances, and as a result, they not only suffer, health-wise, and then also, it can contain any, banned substances, and that's the challenge.
Here's the question is, how do you regulate it? I mean, certain supplements are actually legal, fair enough, but there are tons out there which are not. So how do we police this?
No, what the anti-doping has come out and said they have named certain kind of substances that cannot be used. So if you get caught using any of those, you'll get banned for life, or at least you get 4 years. So how can you say this this protein has this kind of substances or not? So that's now, if you take the top sports teams in the world, they test every container, right? Obviously they buy it in bulk and they test everything. So now some cases, like they bring it in bulk form, they mix it and they put it in containers. So there is no real guarantee. So a poor kid who would know anything, like, might take it and then they can get into trouble. So as for me, I know what I believe is you shouldn't be taking until you're a professional athlete, and unless you see a nutritionist. It's important, because if you are getting the diet that you need and you don't need supplements at that level, I'm talking school rugby, right? Because there's so much of pressure, so much of money pumped in, and the coaches are so heavily paid, right? And that's where it all starts. I mean, most of the sports, like, it's not just rugby, I mean, any sport. I mean, if the coaches are under pressure, and then they see how they can produce results.
Yes, very much so. I mean, there is this famous case which happened rather recently, a couple of years back. A foreign coach was sacked by a certain prominent school because he actually got the entire team off supplements and encouraged the type of training regime that you were encouraging, or you were mooting, and he lost his job. But moving on to club rugby, I want to ask you, now, are local rugby clubs in fact doing enough to actually encourage youth, or are there any youth development involved?
I mean, in fairness to the clubs, I mean, it's a difficult thing for them to develop youth. I mean, considering the amount of money they spend on the club teams, they pay the club players a lot of money, and then I don't think they can even afford to have a second team now. If you ask me, the direct question is no. Clubs are not doing enough.
You're painting a very desperate picture here.
No, what you need is, like, it's a culture. Now, if you look at New Zealand rugby, they start at age 9 and they go on, to the senior level. And like, you start playing in the morning and it goes on till evening, and then all levels of, players get involved in the clubs. And that's what we need to do if you want to sustain the game. So the clubs have to play a bigger role.
Right, okay. I want to move on to something else. Now, I also understand that you're involved in baseball.
Yeah, I am, yes. Currently, I'm involved in baseball, and I'm trying to promote the game. I've been involved only about 5 years now. So before they invited me.
How did you identify that there is enough scope to actually promote this in Sri Lanka? I mean, what are the drivers?
No, I mean, when they came to me, I looked at the sport itself, and it's similar to LA, which is one of our national sports, and also cricket, I mean, which requires hand-eye coordination. And you're looking at your upper body, right? And then if you before that, I went to US and also met some, top clubs, MLB clubs, and discussed with them as well whether they can help us to promote. So there is a huge opportunity in this sport. My personal belief is we can be one of the superpowers of baseball if we focus on baseball, and So now we are trying to see how we can have a proper system in place, proper structure in place. So you have a high performance unit, you have a development, and then you have the competition. The development bit is happening now. We have gone to Jaffna, we have been Kilnochchi, all these places. Our biggest challenge, of course, is getting grounds and the cost of equipment. So what we are trying to do is...
What's the cost of equipment like?
For a team, I would say it will vary from about 400,000 to 600,000 for the equipment alone. So, but what we are trying to do is we are trying to give the equipment free of charge.
Right.
That's what we have done. And so over 22 schools play baseball now, and we have about 31 clubs. So from
those 22 schools, how many are in Colombo?
It's about 8 schools, but majority are in the outstations. Now, if you take the under-14 tournament, I mean, this time it was won by Galevela Central, and Madirigiri came second, and third was Vavela, So I think we are also taking the opportunity to take it to the grassroots level. I think that's where the talent is, and because you are promoting a new sport, it's difficult to capture the best, best body specimens if you go to top schools in Colombo. And also the grounds. I mean, that's one challenge that we have. So we are working with the sports ministry, education ministry, and see how we can, promote the sport.
When you say you're working with these ministries, what has their response been? Has it been positive, or has it been, well, yeah, we commend your effort, but, well, we can't do much? Is that the sort of response you're getting?
Yes and no. Yes and no. I mean, you need to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, right? I mean, you look at Sri Lanka, I mean, we don't have that many sports personalities. Now, if you take a sportsman, you have 3 stages of their lives, right? One is as a kid, you aspire to play sport. You look at Michael Jordans or Aravindas or Sangakaras, and you want to, become a sports person. And then the other one is, of course, you become the sports person.
I see what you're getting at, but unfortunately we have time constraints and we have to end there. But we look forward to having you once more. Thank you for coming.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And that's it from us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.